His kids think he's a star athlete, but they're still very young. You're listening to Game Points with Matthew Ross.
Push it to the limit. Push it to the limit.
11:34. TSN 690. Welcome back to the show. We're here till 1 a.m. tonight. Don't worry, I had a nap. No, I did have a nap. It's true. I have a 4.5-year-old at home as well as a 2.5-year-old. And so to put the 2.5-year-old down, she's been in a bed for about, I'd say, just under 2 months now, as opposed to a crib. And that's a hard transition. If you're a parent out there, it's hard to get, you drop the kid in the crib, you close the door, you're done. They might cry a little bit, but you kind of just go, whew, all right, that's done. But now that they're in a bed, it's a different story because, they can, it's like fish out of water. They can flop out of bed. They can, get up and terrorize you. You gotta spend some time in there before you can get the heck out of there. And so I fell asleep in her bed around, I'd say 7:30, 7:40, and woke up around 9:20. And I woke up, I staggered out of the room. Where am I? What day is it? Am I on air? Am I not? So I was a little groggy, and usually that process takes me about a half hour to realize where I am and all that kind of stuff. But we're ready to go, and that was a terrible story. So we're here until 1 o'clock tonight. We're going to talk some Montreal Alouettes here in this segment. Moe Khan, of course, covering the Owls regularly. You can follow Mo on Twitter.com/MoeKhan19. Now, we rib Mo, we kid him, but he is certainly in tune with what's going on in CIS and CFL football in this country. A lot of great contacts and certainly a lot of relationships with players as well. Mo, this is an interesting season, maybe unlike any in recent memory. Brand new type of coach, a lot of new players. They're starting this Thursday night in Winnipeg. Before we get to the Thursday night game, talk to me about this team as a whole right now. After training camp, after 2 preseason games, what kind of team is this, or is it still too early to tell?
I think it's still too early to tell how this team will be this year. I think it's a high-risk, high-reward proposition. Again, you look at how this team is built. It's built to win the Grey Cup this year. No question about that. We talked about that during the offseason, leading up through the 2 preseason games, training camp prior to that, and now the first game this Thursday in Winnipeg. But the question that comes up, though, is can Anthony Calvillo, the quarterback, survive 18 games straight? Right, their bye week comes, I believe, comes early August. So that means after that bye week, they have a boatload of games, I think like 13 in a row, where the bulk of the road games will be towards the end of the year. They have 2 road games back-to-back to end off the year.
And a cross-continent trip as well, right?
A killer road trip in late September where they play in Vancouver on a Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock local time, Montreal time. Then they traveled across country to Moncton.
That's crazy.
For a Saturday game.
You think about that. You play 7 other teams in the league, and you have your road trip to Vancouver, which you only do once a year.
Yes.
Right? And so the following week, not only are you across the country, you're in Moncton, right?
Yeah.
You're in Moncton. You're not even going back home. You're going all the way to Moncton. Of all the weeks where they could have had Montreal playing in Moncton or they could have had Montreal play in Vancouver, you put it in the back-to-back week? Really? You couldn't have, Vancouver and then maybe going to Saskatchewan or Vancouver, Montreal, and then going. I mean, that is crazy to me.
The CFL did no favors for the schedule this year, especially considering, again, I mean, their last 5 games of the year, 3 are on the road where they play at Edmonton, Toronto, Hamilton, to end off the year, of course, that cross-country trip. And then in August, death row of games. You have BC, Saskatchewan, Toronto, and throwing an Edmonton Eskimo to who I think will be much more improved this year. So really, high risk, high reward. Rookie head coach Dan Hawkins, we don't know what to expect come week 1. I think this would be not a smooth transition, but it'll take some time for him to adapt. Therefore, I don't think Alouette fans should be up in arms if this team goes 1-1 or they come out of the gates 2-2. I mean, I think it took Mark Trestman, some time for him to gel in the CFL. So for a guy like Dan Hawkins, they should hold back at least for a month, let him learn the game, adjust, divulge what he has to see, dissect what he has to see, and go from there.
Mo, you mentioned Anthony Calvillo. Can he stay healthy for the entire season? That brings me to the offensive line. How's that looking so far?
The O-line is going to be fine, but as I've said to you before, it's the key for this offense to click is how well they block. It's not knowing your blocking assignments, which they will know. It's how well will they block. You look at some guys on the team. Scott Flory, still an all-star. but he's on the other side of 30 now. Like, he's in the sunset of his career. You look at a guy like Josh Burke, who had a strong year, but, I mean, the last couple of years where he had an injury 2 years ago that cost him the end of the season, will he stay healthy? A lot of question marks, but I think this team is going to be fine at O-line. It's a matter of these guys being comfortable in the system that they will employ. Remember, Mark Trestman was a quick-hitting offense here, 3-step, 5-step drop. We don't really know with Mike Miller's offense, the OC for the Alouettes, what this will entail.
It's not going to be an option offense.
No,
right?
it won't be an option.
Calvillo's not going to be running.
No, he's not going to be running, but will it be a longer pass blocking assignment where they have to hold their blocks for another second and a half or 2 seconds? And so let's see how that plays out. But the question they have, those are backups, right? Christian Matt, Anthony Brett, these guys had decent training camps, but not strong camps. So if Scott Flory does go down, if Luc Bordeaux-Jourdain goes down, are they ready to step up to the plate and become stars on that team, which is built to win now?
All right, elsewhere on this team, Mo, obviously the wide receiver core, they lose Brian Bratton. They bring in Arlen Bruce III. He had a pretty good preseason, and from what we hear, he's been a lot of fun in the locker room, a good leadership presence. You know, the other side of Arlen Bruce is certainly outspoken and all that kind of stuff that comes with it, the celebrations in the end zone. But from what we're seeing so far, it looks like he's fitting in.
Yeah, and he's boys with Toronto Mayor Rob Ford as well. Let's not forget about that. Yes, he is. And look, we can look at Arlen's career in his past where he's played with Hamilton, Toronto, Winnipeg, BC. Every time he's gone to a new spot, he's always had a monster season with that team. And I think he will have good numbers with the Alouettes, provided he stays healthy. But he has a short shelf life as a football player on a roster. He'll do well for 1 year, but can he carry over into the second year? At his age, I still think he will be productive. But at his age, though, how long can he go, and will the wear and tear catch up to him at that point? Because, again, he's a 34-year-old receiver playing on a team that's built to win now, obviously, but he won't be the number one option. We all know who that is, and Jamel Richardson, S.J. Green, Brandon London, then Arlen Bruce. And
obviously the defensive side of things, the experiment that was Mr. Reinbold is no longer. Noel Thorpe now takes over as the defensive coordinator. They brought in a bunch of new players. They cut some people that maybe you thought they wouldn't have cut. But this team is very, I would say, Mo, this defense is the most intriguing that we've seen in recent years in terms of the talent that they brought in.
Well, they're going back from a 3-4 lineman, which was 3 D linemen, 4 linebackers, back to a standard 4-3 look. And I think John Bowman will rekindle the lost sacks that he did not accumulate last year and hopefully get back to where he was. I'm intrigued to see what Idro Kowali, former Argonaut linebacker, who's going to play rush end and linebacker, I guess, in some packages as well, how he adapts. Moe Hopkins, who missed last year, is back in the lineup for this team. Shamry will be the middle linebacker. Chip Cox still there as well. It's a new-look defense. I mean, they replaced Dwight Anderson with Byron Parker, Jeff Tisdale, who they brought in from BC, and, of course, Calgary, respectively, here in Hamilton, former Ticat that Tisdale was. But the question that it is for this team is Kyrie Sever. He's a little bit older, 33 years old.
He had a great year last year.
Great year, but now he's 33 years old, right? Gerald Brown's going to be 33 years old. This secondary is old. It is long in the tooth. You have Mike Edom, who's going to be the starting safety for this team. He's going to be young and fresh in that lineup. So it's a mixture of old vets with Mike Edom being center field for that safety. So really, can they hold up for a full season? And again, you wonder, though, and keep an eye out for this kid, Kendrick Burney from the University of North Carolina, who played in the NFL for a bit, but prior to that, though, had a strong career at UNC, had a strong Senior Bowl. In fact, Charles Davis of the NFL on Fox, we spoke about him. We both believe that he is a phenomenal player as a press corner, and if he gets that opportunity to start or get some playing time, I think that the Owls will have a comfortable player to put in the lineup because of what he brings as a football player, Kendrick Burney.
All right, so what about this learning curve for new coach Dan Hawkins? Now, he's not coaching amateurs anymore, or students. He's
intramural football.
He's coaching pros now. These aren't guys that he can sort of father as much as he could maybe in the coaching ranks now, right? You got to give a little more leeway to these types of players off the field. You got to let them do their own thing. You got to respect them maybe a little more, maybe talk to them a little more. From what we've seen so far from Hawkins in the media and also in practice preseason, is he the guy to keep this thing going and keep this team competitive?
I give him full credit, though. He's been immersed into the football community. If you recall, remember he went to the Alouettes Challenge, the football challenge at Sadie Bear about a month ago, whatever it was, spoke to the kids. The guy does not speak French, but he's tried his best, right, to speak a couple of words. He's taken upon himself to really try to immerse himself into the community, understand the culture of Montreal. So I give him that. Now the question that comes up, as you brought up the point, though, he's not coaching kids at Colorado or Boise State anymore. He's coaching pros. These are men. These are adults who have their own lives, their own families, whatever it is. How will they buy into the system, and have they bought in? I think they have to an extent. But now this is where the bullets really fly for this football team and how they play on the football field. Do they buy in? Do they understand the concepts? Do they understand what they have to do on the football field? If things don't go his way, will Dan Hawkins blow up on the sidelines? A lot of questions here. But look at Mark Trestman, and not to compare these two again, but Mark Trestman learned the game. He had 7.5 months to learn the CFL game, whereas Dan Hawkins is literally on an intensive learning curve here. From the middle of March up till now, he has to learn the rules, but it'll take him at least another 4 or 5 months just to understand the game before he feels comfortable come 2014.
Yeah, you can watch game tape, but you need to make those decisions on the fly, and they need to be ingrained. So I completely get what you're saying.
High risk, high reward with this team.
So what's the story here? I know you're doing a CFL preview show right after the Owls game, or towards the end of the Owls game. You'll be on air on Thursday night. Now, are you giving any predictions as to how they'll do this year right now, or how is it going to work for you?
You're the fifth person to ask me today, where do you think the Alouettes will finish this year? I just don't know. My heart says that they will be a playoff team. I think they will be a playoff team, but I just don't know if they're going to be
you're really
hosting.
going out on a limb there.
I am really.
What are you, like 80% correct there?
Yeah, 1 out of 4.
Shot there, yeah.
1 out of 4
they will
chance.
be in playoff contention.
Yes.
I mean, they'll be a top 4 team in the division.
And the Owls are 5 wins on the air and still alive for a playoff spot.
Top 4 team. Right now, I look at Toronto, Hamilton, both strong teams, both strong coaching staffs. I think coaching will be a key factor in this division rather than talent, because Ricky Ray, Calvillo, Burris are all phenomenal quarterbacks. But I think it comes down to coaching right now, and I give the edge to Toronto and Hamilton for now. But I'll make my pick on Thursday into Friday.
All right, the suspense continues. Moe Khan 19 on Twitter.com. By the way, TSN Matthew on Twitter.com if you want to tweet at us during the show. This coming in from Tom Romer 89. I can't wait to see Arlen Bruce III on the field. Adds lots of depth. As an O-line coach myself, I'm worried that we're a bit thin. So there you go. It's
not thin. I wouldn't say thin. I just think that they're green in the backups, right? These guys haven't played serious.
Pedigree's there, though, from some of these guys.
You have Brett, you have Christian Matt, Ola. You have these guys who are there, but they have to get playing time. And that was the one knock on Trestman during his time, was that backups did not get much playing time. And when they were thrusted in there, they did not look comfortable at times.
Adrian McPherson. It's Game Points here on TSN 690. Other side of the break, we'll talk some puck. Joe Yerdon, who was on the ice last night in Boston. He'll join us from ProHockeyTalk.NBCSports.com. That is next on Game Points.